Hello, everyone, and welcome to Definitely Gospel Centered. Once again, I am your host, Gaby Duke, and we have some phenomenal women to have real, deep, challenging conversations with in American Sign Language. And today we're going to be on the topic of singleness. So I want to go ahead and introduce our wonderful guest today. We have Miss Renca Dunn, who currently lives in Nebraska, also currently studying for her PhD. So impressive, Renca. And a fun fact about her is that she has once biked a very long distance. In fact, all the way from California to Florida, all the way across the United States of America during the summer in 2011. Wow, that's such a feat, Renca. Must have been super hot.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. It was very hot. I would recommend people doing that in the fall rather than the summer. It gets so hot in June and July. So in July especially. And also it was going through the South as well. The route took me through the South of the United States. I really felt like I was burning every day. I was putting on, sunscreen every day, but that's when I was off, so I took advantage of the opportunity to do it in the summer. You just have to pick your battles sometimes, right?
And we also have with us today Miss Heather Shur, and Heather also lives in Nebraska. She currently works for Deaf Missions, and she enjoys, and I mean really enjoys, cooking. She leads a plant-based lifestyle and loves sharing that with others and teaching them how to be more plant-based, and also loves to exercise. So Heather, welcome today. So excited you're here.
Hello. Yes, I'm very happy to be here too.
And we also have with us today Miss Regina Daniels. And Regina, you live...
My name sign actually
so sorry.
looks like
I
this,
got your sign name wrong. Thank you for correcting me. Miss Regina lives in Minnesota and loves to dance, loves to shop, and is also studying for her PhD. Isn't that right?
All right.
That is correct.
Wow.
You guys are
I'm
just
almost done.
brilliant women. Awesome.
You're in your first year, right?
2 years?
Yes, I'm in my second year of my program. I have 1 year left, and then I will be done next summer.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
3 years, that makes sense.
A
Mine is a
3-year
4-year program.
altogether.
I'm in my first of 4 years. It's exciting to see more
I
deaf women
agree.
get PhDs, too. Way to go.
Heather, we have some catching up to do if we're supposed to keep up with them because...
Yeah. I'm still working on my bachelor's degree, so I haven't even gotten that far yet. So I'm not sure. Maybe I will.
I encourage you to take your time. There are many people who eagerly start a program only to realize later that they're not quite on the right path. Take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right, but we probably need to catch up with Heather. Her chef certificates and licenses, we don't have anything like that. So she has a whole different sort of license and certification that we don't have. She's already got her PhD in cooking over here, so.
We all have different gifts, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
So something that you guys all have in common is that each of you are single, right? And I just am so personally encouraged by how each of you just lead your life to glorify the Lord. So if you will, just share a little bit about how your approach is and your perspective is to singleness.
I can start. I can share my recent journey of singleness. Now, I have been in a relationship in the past, but since becoming single, I've realized that there's new time that I have to spend with the Lord. I also have time to learn myself, to know who I am. There are many relationships that we see out around us, and oftentimes we see the beautiful exterior, but we don't always see the deeper issues that are involved. there are both positives and negatives to consider with relationships. And I've realized that I need time to make sure that I'm ready to enter a relationship, because I know that I don't want to lose myself in the process. You know, I believe it's very important to be friends first before jumping into a committed relationship. It's important to enjoy your singleness, enjoy making friends. And as that friendship develops, perhaps that can develop into more. But I've realized that I truly have fallen in love with being single. I value my independence. I value the time that I have to know myself without being responsible for another person. I've been single now for 4 years, and in the beginning, it was a little unnerving. But I've learned that I have the freedom to explore my own identity, truly to be myself.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Being married,
Definitely.
sometimes I know that it would be a lot easier if I was single to really assess myself and figure out what I need, and not having my 2 kids, constantly trying to get my attention and having to tell them to wait and trying to figure out things myself.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I believe there are positives and negatives both to being single and to being married. And so really, singlehood has been a gift to me from God. And God does allow for some people to be single. And all throughout growing up, I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to get married, like my family and friends. And I have a younger brother. I'm the oldest one. And my youngest brother, I thought that I would be married before he was. And when that didn't happen, it was a shock to me. And I was in a relationship a few years ago, and I thought that maybe that was opening a door to me maybe getting married, but it seemed that God closed that door, and I had to go through the grieving process and heal through that. But I'm not bitter to be single. I'm happy. I'm able to be free. My brother, he has 5 kids now, and I can be that awesome and cool aunt to those 5 kids. 3 out of 5 of his kids are deaf. And they live in Texas, and so I'm able to visit them very often. And I feel like they're my kids too, in a way, But it's like they're my kids with no strings attached. And so I can be like the good aunt to them. But, at singlehood, you just have to embrace it. I had to embrace being single, being who I am. And that's
awesome.
It's like freedom for me. Yep.
Yeah, so awesome.
Yeah. I have had a bit of a different experience than the 2 of you. I've never been in a relationship before, a long-term relationship. I haven't had a boyfriend. I mean, I did have a very brief 3-month thing in high school. We were boyfriend-girlfriend for 3 months, but we really were more friends. But I often wonder what it would be like, what it would feel like to really fall in love with another person, to have that connection that, like Regina mentioned, we need to make sure that we're friends with people first before moving forward. Otherwise, the relationship would feel a little empty. There are a lot of people that I've seen that I haven't really felt that kind of click or connection with. But I think that whether a person is married or not, it's important to remember that the priority is that we need to be complete people, just in and of ourselves first. Marriage cannot fulfill a person. It cannot fill a void that they're filling. Oftentimes I think people say they want to get married because they want to be better people or they want to be more complete. But if a person is empty inside,
Exactly.
Getting married will help that. It doesn't. It's really important to work out your identity with God and for your cup to be filled from God. And then after that, if you have somebody else whose cup is filled from God as well, it's that as though you're clinking glasses and approaching things as a partnership. But if you feel empty and you're expecting somebody to pour into you, or vice versa, you're looking to pour into somebody else, that can screw things up because that's really outside of the realm of our responsibility. There are some people that want to get married who are single that like the idea of marriage, I think, sometimes. They like the idea of chatting and going out with that person. The representations of marriage that we see in media and movies, and those things are great, I'm sure, but married people have struggles just as much as single people do. There will be struggles and trials either route. So I think the priority is really we need to love ourselves and accept and embrace who we are ourselves. And that should be our focus. Like the two of you mentioned, our relationship with God needs to be our priority. If that's not happening, then nothing else will be worthwhile. I'm open to marriage in the future. That's not where I'm at now. And if I never get married, I'll be satisfied with that. I'm not bitter about that, I wouldn't say.
Right. So true. Marriage is not completely satisfying. Only the Lord is capable of that. I know, just as a married woman, sometimes my husband and I, we fight, we bicker, and we, don't understand each other. And I have to remember that he's a sinner, the same as I am, right? So yes, Renca, 100% agree. It seems like the three of you are living contently and accepting of the single living, maybe even enjoying it to the fullest. But I wonder in the past if you've been bitter or struggled with the fact of being single and how you navigated those emotions.
For me, I think that growing up, I've always struggled with my identity as a deaf person, and I was in a mainstream environment. And of course, I had my deaf family, but there was this constant struggle within me about my identity. So I desired that connection to something, whether it was a connection to food or a boyfriend. So I grew up struggling with that. And as I mentioned before, I was in a relationship in the past, and it lasted for 3 years. And going through that relationship, looking back now, I believe that God allowed me to be in it, knowing that it wouldn't last, so that he could teach me, like Renca said, that marriage does not fulfill you. There's still going to be that emptiness. So that with that relationship, I realized that person didn't fill my void, and he couldn't fill that void. And, that fulfillment has to come from God, my relationship between me and God. So when I realized that, I really learned an important lesson from that. And so I was never bitter, but I was able to let go of that idea that I needed to get married and that it was completely imperative that I got married. And, I was able to accept that I'm single and that's okay. So that was my learning experience.
Heather, you mentioned being in a relationship for 3 years and learning so much. I can relate to that. I was in a relationship for 15 years with the same man.
15 years. Wow. That's a long time.
And it almost felt as though we were married, but of course we weren't. That relationship taught me so much. I felt as though it was my purpose to pour out, to continually give of myself. I thought that was a woman's responsibility, to provide emotional and physical support. But I was always giving and realized that I wasn't receiving in return. I didn't feel that it was my place to ask for anything back. I would give and give and give, and if I needed something, I would ask the Lord. I felt as though if I asked my partner for something, it would just blow things out of proportion. When I eventually let go of that relationship, it was very difficult for me, and I realized that I didn't really know how to be single again. I didn't know how to go about living by myself, having my own bills, having all these responsibilities that were my own. It really felt like I was a baby again. And yes, absolutely, in the beginning I did feel disappointment about being single. People would make comments to me about getting married and having children and how I was running out of time. And all of those comments, they did get to me. I couldn't fake it. I couldn't pretend that it didn't affect me. but I felt conflicted in many ways. You know, I was happy to be single, but at the same time, I had to admit that, yes, I did want to have children. I did want to get married. You know, I'm almost 43 years old. And I felt that there were a few friends who could understand me. And it was important for me to let those emotions out, to be honest with myself, to vent.
Right.
So it's hard. It's hard to find that balance between being content and also being honest about my desires.
Right, right. I remember there was this one time where there was somebody who I thought really we had the potential to be married in the future. We weren't dating or anything, but I looked at him and felt like really this was a possibility. We would make a good match, but we just never pursued it further. And I remember the moment when he had gotten a new girlfriend or something like that. And I remember thinking, why not me? You know, there's that moment where you're thinking, why wasn't it me? Does it mean that I am discontent with singleness? Not really necessarily, but it just was a moment of wondering, you know, am I missing something? Do I need to be something different? And I realized that was, it was really a moment of realization for me, where I got to the point that I recognized that sometimes there could be an awesome person, but the connection isn't there. And really the important thing is the connection with God and being content with that. Now, being content, of course, doesn't mean that, for example, all of your boxes are checked on your list of things that you want. Being content is recognizing that we're in the situations that we're in and moving forward in light of that, rather than being distraught that we are wherever we are in life and questioning why we are where we are, but just accepting the situation that we find ourselves in. I'm single. Okay, it's not going to work out with me and this guy. All right. And recognizing that I'm still worth it. I'm not any less valuable because of that. Nothing is wrong with me or anything like that. We just never ended up going out on a date. So sometimes I do have those moments of wondering, am I this crazy, weird person that nobody wants to? But I know that that's not what it is, and that God has made me. He's made my personality, and He's made me worthy. Whether I'm with someone or not, I'm still valuable to Him. And so I think that it's important, especially like what Regina was mentioning with society, and now especially more and more with social media. We're just seeing things more than we would before.
That's right.
And you want to put yourself inside one of those happy pictures with the rose-colored lenses and taking cute pictures of your baby with plants in the background. It's easy to say, oh, I wouldn't mind having that kind of life.
You're right.
Really,
Absolutely.
those are just pictures. They're just images. So that's something that informs how we think about our life. Like Regina was saying, it's important to have that mentality of looking for friendship. If you're single and you're alone and you don't have community,
agree, 100%.
I really encourage you, please go find a community. It's so helpful. Family is a type of community, but what really has helped me as a single person is my friends, and seeing people, even being in this interview today with you other ladies, talking about our experiences. That helps make me feel like I belong. So I think that that's really key for people who are single and don't have a community. Please find a community that'll help you.
Yeah, I understand that.
Process really
Another
who
thing
you
I
are.
wanted to mention is that oftentimes when you are single and then you enter into a relationship, it's easy to hide who you are. You know, perhaps you're a really silly person, but then you put that away and you act like you're someone else. We camouflage our true identity and our personality. And so I really want to encourage people, you know, be who you are. Own your personality. Don't change that for anyone.
Right. And I really do think that oftentimes people are more enamored with the concept of marriage than marriage itself. I'll ask them, why do you want to get married? Do you want to have a relationship like you see in the movies? Or maybe you've seen another family that you really look up to and you want to have a family like that.
True,
those families
actually.
have their own
Yes.
issues too. It's not as though marriage solves problems.
Yeah.
And also the concept of a marriage in culture has evolved. Originally, marriage wasn't intended for love. It was for trade. It was for establishing alliances with other countries. So something like, if I give you 12 of my daughters, you give me 12 of your sons. It was really more of establishing those bonds. And that was the norm at the time. Marriage often was a way of making peace between warring groups. And it was really a partnership sort of mentality, especially with arranged marriages. Now people marrying for love. I think that's fine, but it's just important to keep in mind that we are making sure that we're not, like you were saying, getting rid of ourselves to be in a relationship. It's important that we keep who we are. Also, that we're not giving half of ourselves to a relationship and trying to hold the other half back. We need to be our whole selves.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that passage of scripture found in Jeremiah in chapter, I think it's 20 verse, it's chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for your... Somewhere. Renca, do you have this verse in your house?
Yeah,
somewhere.
You're talking about. There are a lot of people that have like a decorative. I think I have a picture of that verse.
Yes. So you guys are familiar with this, right? Plans not for our disaster, but to give us a hope and a future. Whether we are married or single, divorced, have kids, or don't have kids, the Lord has plans for us. Whether we're deaf, hard of hearing. Regardless, the Lord has amazing plans for our lives. So anyway, I am curious what you guys enjoy doing in the time that you have. Anyone?
I will let you know right now. My place to go is the Mall of America. It is 5 minutes away.
That's right. Well, you enjoy shopping.
It's easy for me to just go there.
Oh, wow.
And just get my fix. I am a shopaholic, and I am famous for getting my brand names. Expensive brand names are my thing. That makes me a happy girl. I also really enjoy cooking. I really love Southern food. I also enjoy dancing to music in my free time. Those are really the things I love to do.
How fun. So what is your most recent purchase?
I recently bought a Brahmin item. It's a really luxury brand, kind of close to Michael Kors and Louis Vuitton, but a little bit higher.
Okay. Nice.
You know, luxury items with real alligator skin and fancy things like that are my go-to.
That's cool. Heather, what do you enjoy doing in
well, I really just enjoy the outdoors. I love being outside. I have a huge garden, and so I love to take care of that. I love to take care of my yard, and I like doing things around the house. So I love to work out. I recently just picked up biking, so I love to do that.
Fun.
On my birthday, I biked 50 miles, so for this year, my goal is to bike 100 miles, but I broke my foot, so that's been put on hold. So it's kind of forced me to be still. But I love to do different things around the house, be outside, exercise. I also love to cook. So I focus on cooking plant-based foods and vegan food. So that's my focus. And I like to help other people to make healthier choices in their eating habits.
Cool. Yeah, and I've seen your Instagram, all the different fruits, vegetables, and healthy stuff you post. Some things I've never seen before. So it's really, really
like to inform people about that and encourage them to try new things. You know, like you can try it out.
Yeah, you need to start sharing your recipes with people so that they can try copying.
I've been wanting to try to start like a cooking live cooking event on social media, but I've been kind of delaying it. So I really have to kick myself and really start to do it. But a lot of people have been asking me to do that.
Well, you should. Yeah. You should do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Right.
You have accountability now,
yeah,
so you have to.
You have accountability. Yeah, so for me, my number one thing that I like to do is travel. I love getting out, looking at different areas, going to different countries.
So
and now
hard.
It's difficult because, of the coronavirus, people are having to stay home. Even traveling domestically is difficult. State-to-state travel is not always allowed, and so... Yeah, I'm praying that this situation is temporary and that we're not, in this stay-at-home phase for the next 10 years before we can get out. I sure hope not, but I really do enjoy travel. It always feels like it just feeds my soul. I always find myself in awe whenever I travel and thankful to God for the people that He's created, the cultures, the foods, the places. I really enjoy that. But besides travel, when I can't travel... one thing that I've been doing is, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I've been making funny videos. And that's really become a hobby of mine. I enjoy thinking of ideas and brainstorming what I could do next. And of course, hanging out with people I love. I love being around people.
And your videos, Renca, are so hilarious. I think my favorite one is the one with Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah,
right. I feel
so
like that's
funny.
Everybody's favorite one, the Dunkin' Donuts one. Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the
one
TikTok video?
It's trying to make a bun out of different types of Dunkin' Donuts.
That was amazing.
Yeah, so people always say that one is their favorite one. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, just
right.
From you pulling up to the drive-through window and needing to have the right type of lid. And I think the captions there said hearing impaired or something like impaired. That, or deaf impaired, or sign language impaired. Yes, that was funny.
Captions.
Girl, that was funny.
A signing impaired person.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The signing impaired. That was cool.
Oh, yeah, I know.
My favorite one was the one about the toilet paper when all the people had bought out the toilet paper and you did that dramatic scene and you were sliding across the floor.
Well, now I feel
that was
toilet
amazing.
Paper is much better stocked.
So hilarious.
Than it once was. Before, you remember, the shelves would be empty. There would be nothing there. And people are bumping into each other with their grocery carts. It's like, slow down, guys. So I'm relieved to see that we're seeing better stocked toilet paper. It's easier to buy now.
For sure. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here today, for chatting, for having these really deep and intentional conversations about singleness and just sharing your stories and your experiences. We really appreciate you guys and each of your
It was a pleasure.
Gifts.
Yeah. I do want to
thank you.
Just say that everybody's journey is different. And we have to remember that so that we don't compare our stories with someone else's story. It might be that we're totally fine the way we are, even if somebody's journey, I know Regina's journey is different. And so there's really no question of whether singleness or being married is better. Both of them are just states. It is what it is. And so it's important for us to remember that now.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially with all of these different social media platforms and access to seeing pictures and stories of others' lives, that it's easy for a married person to look at pictures and be like, man, I wish I had that independence and freedom of a single person. Or for a single person to look at pictures from married people and say, I just wish I had somebody to cuddle and watch Netflix with. Is something wrong with me because I'm single? But really, neither of those are true. It's just two different journeys and different experiences. If a single person meets someone, awesome. If they don't meet someone,
I agree.
awesome.
Amen.
They can focus on
to
the relationship with God first of all.
You're absolutely right.
And you guys watching, if you have any thoughts or questions about singleness, about the singleness lifestyle, how to navigate those waters, or even the Lord's perspective on singleness, or how to be satisfied in your singleness, or what the Bible has to say about singleness, anything at all, your questions are worth asking. They're so important. So please ask, reach out, and thank you all for joining in on this episode of Definitely Gospel Centered. Hopefully see you guys on the next episode.
Bye.